An unconscious Furor lay 20 paces to Dux's right, bloodied and bruised, but alive, if only by an inch. Dux had an angry gash above his brow for the trouble, another trophy scar for his already ravaged face. Dux and Pectus had run in on Furor's impending doom seconds before the Belua descended upon him. The battered warrior was completely spent. He did not sense their arrival from the west, and there had been no time to bark a warning. Dux had exerted all his energy to accelerating as swiftly as possible, leaving Pectus galloping behind in the thick snow. He had launched into Furor like a battering ram, knocking the wind and consciousness out of the wolf on impact. But as the comatose wolf soared through the night sky away from danger, the Belua had acquired a new target. Dux had instinctually attempted to roll to his right and away from the Belua after colliding with Furor, but the beast had swung its heavy paw too quickly. Two of its wicked claws scratched out half an inch of flesh from Dux's forehead, angry spurts of his blood shooting onto the ground, only to be eaten up hungrily by the snow under him. The beast let out a furious roar inches from his snout, the force of its breath blowing back his dark fur as if he were caught in a hurricane. Its thick, repulsive stench enveloped him, bringing him back down to earth with a resoundingly dull thud. Dux's lips pulled back into a vicious snarl, revealing menacing fangs. He let loose a deep, rebuking growl of his own. Surprised by the spirited rebuff, the Belua hesitated. The split second was what Dux had hoped for. Pectus, who had now caught up, leapt onto the unsuspecting beast's back and clamped his jaws onto the back of its neck. The Belua let out a scream of agony. It was a good bite. Pectus had torn muscle. The Belua stood up on two tree trunk legs and staggered backwards, arms flailing, trying desperately to claw the young wolf off its back. Dux's body geared to pounce, his form crouched low to the ground, eyes firmly fixed on his opponent's throat, waiting for his perfect moment. The hair on Dux's back stood rigid in anticipation. He was a chasm in the snow, an endless void beaming a portal to the dark sky above. On its hind legs, the beast's momentum now carried it backwards. It would be off balance within moments. It took a step back, shifting most of its mass onto its left leg. Pectus pulled down on the back of the creature's neck with all of his weight. The left leg began to wobble under the added stress, its right foot lifting off the ground by a fraction of an inch. The perfect moment. "Now!" Dux roared. Pectus released the beast's neck, planting his hind legs on its back, using it as a platform to spring away to the left of his enemy. Dux now had a clear path to flatten the beast. Muscles in his hind legs, tight like a coiled cobra, unwound with maximum force. He launched forward, a heavy projectile. The Belua's eyes widened in fear as its terrible foe closed in within seconds. It let loose a terrified swipe with its left paw, too early to hit Dux, but catching the in-flight Pectus across his abdomen and throttling him to the ground behind the beast. Dux landed squarely on its chest, unaware of his son's predicament, sinking his claws deep into his flesh with a vice grip. With his position secure, the great wolf closed its mighty jaws on the beast's neck, instantly severing a bulging artery. It shrieked again in torment, railing its heavy paws on Dux's back, sensing its rapidly approaching demise. Dux held on, clamping down tighter, his fangs closing in on the beast's jugular. The Belua, in pure desperation, began clawing at itself and Dux at random. Strips of flesh of both colossi painted the pale snow below them, a pool of rot. The beast staggered back further, teetering on collapse. It looked set to land squarely on Pectus, who had just begun to recover after his fall. "Father!" The young wolf yelped in panic. The cry echoed through Dux's ear as he finally pierced through the beast's jugular. Life swiftly left the Belua. It collapsed backwards. A heavy shadow washed over Pectus, as if the sky itself were falling. Dux clumsily shifted his weight to his right, forcing the beast's momentum in a new direction. The adjustment in force was poorly calculated. The dying Belua tripped over its own leg. Now falling forward, it collapsed in a heap on top of the great wolf, dead before it hit the ground. Like and subscribe for more.